Shalom, shalom. Hi, I'm Dr. John Delancey, Director of Biblical Israel Ministries and Tours. Today we're at Sepporis, or Seppori, a Hebrew word that means bird. During the days of Jesus, Sepporis was a very prominent city here in the lower Galilee. Jesus grew up in Nazareth, which was only about 4 miles away as a bird flies. And yet this city was the prominent city of the region. Sepporis. It was very Hellenistic, and yet Jewish in all of its characteristics. We're walking down one of the Roman streets. This particular city that went east to west was called the Decumanus. It was a prominent street in the city. It intersected another street called the Cardo, which ran north to south. These stones are still in place as they were about 2,000 years ago. Remarkable preservation of this particular city. As we come to the Cardo, or the street that went north to south, we understand that Sepporis, or Seppori, was known as the seat of the Sanhedrin, especially after Jerusalem was destroyed in 70 AD by the Romans. This was where the oral traditions of Jewish thought and practice were compiled into what is now known to be the Mishnah in about 200 AD. The Mishnah, or this collection of oral traditions and practices, it was compiled and completed here at Sepporis. Today, Sepporis is known for the unbelievable preservation of the many mosaics that were used here. In fact, on this sidewalk that runs parallel to the Cardo, this was used by pedestrians here in Sepporis. We can see the mosaics quite clearly. These mosaics were made of colored stone, not painted at all, but using the natural color of different stones. These mosaics were cut into very small square pieces called tesserae and put into place, developing a beautiful artwork of mosaics of various colors. Many of the mosaics took on a geometric figure. Even people were depicted in various forms in these mosaics. Even though some of these mosaics date to a few centuries after the time of Jesus, they are quite impressive nonetheless. This particular house is called the Nile House, where we have various depictions of life along the Nile River in Egypt. Jesus, no doubt, was familiar with Sepporis. Growing up as a small boy in Nazareth, perhaps he would have accompanied Joseph, who was probably more of a stone mason than a wood carpenter. Archaeologists actually suggest to us that stones that were found here were mass-produced outside of the city, perhaps in places like Nazareth. If that's the case, we can picture Joseph perhaps bringing Jesus here to Sepporis, delivering stones that he cut and chiseled in his hometown to be used here in this massive Hellenistic Jewish city. Even though Sepporis is not mentioned specifically by name in the New Testament, Sepporis must have played a very significant role in this region of the Lower Galilee. The city of Nazareth today is quite a large town. We can see it on the horizon there, just beyond the ruins of Sepporis. Like every other Hellenized city, Sepporis also had a theater. The one here could probably seat up to 3,000 people. From this partially restored theater, we have a wonderful view of the Beit Netofa Valley here in the Lower Galilee. Located at the end of this valley was the city of Cana, where Jesus performed his first miracle, recorded for us in John chapter 2. So it's within the context of how large Sepporis was that we remember what Nathanael said as recorded in John chapter 1. What good can come out of Nazareth? Well, we know that Jesus came out of Nazareth, one who came to be our Savior and Redeemer.